In this video, we're going to learn how to get more views on YouTube from YouTube themselves. Pretty simple, right? So YouTube just released some of the secrets to the algorithm. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. Now, how they did this was through two sources of information. A fairly hefty blog they published on their YouTube creator blog website, and also through a video on the Creator Insider YouTube channel. I'll link to both of those in the description just below the like button. I would definitely say that the blog post lean more towards the viewer's perspective, while the video is definitely for the creator's benefit. And having gone through both the blog post and the video in depth, I would say that these are the three principal learnings I've taken from them. Oh, and I highly recommend you stick around until the end, because that final point is by far the most important one, even if you wish it wasn't. And we'll start off with something very simple. The key behind the success of many platforms. YouTube has been learning from its mistakes for the last 15 years, and they kind of laid this out in a timeline on the blog post. As an example of one of the radical ways that YouTube has changed over time, it used to be that YouTube would just recommend more of the same content. If you enjoyed watching cooking videos, then your homepage would be plastered with nothing but cooking videos. And how frustrating would that be? Apparently quite a lot, because not many views came from home, browse suggested, those types of areas. In truth, in the early days, most views on YouTube came from search or from links outside of a platform. But today, of course, that is very, very different. The viewing experience comes from the viewer itself and personalized information. That's how YouTube is able to recommend the right content to the right viewer, not necessarily for the creator's benefit. Now, of course, this all sounds very, very complicated, doesn't it? Almost as if YouTube relies on human psychology. How can any algorithm achieve this? Well, here's the thing, and I've been saying this now for, I'd say well over a year at this point. If you treat YouTube like an algorithm, then YouTube is going to treat you, the creator, almost as a program, perhaps even a hacker, something intent on trying to break the system down and find vulnerabilities. And let's face it, those two artificial systems are not going to work together. It is much more organic, more human in nature. YouTube has now collected trillions of pieces of information over its existence, to the point now where it can reliably predict what I or you are they going to watch, more so than I, you, or they think they know what they want to watch. YouTube themselves explain it like so. If you like tennis videos and our system notices that others who like the same tennis videos also enjoy jazz videos, you may be recommended jazz videos even if you've never watched a single one before. Now, I'm going to be honest with you and say I find that a little far-fetched, but hey, I don't watch tennis and jazz together. But what I do watch together is tech and wrestling. And there are probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of more viewers who have similar interests. So when I watch a video about the iPhone 13 from NKBHD, then it suggests a wrestling video about SummerSlam 89 from Wrestling Bios. Maybe a similar viewer to me watching similar videos will get the same recommendations. Now, that's how YouTube would like the system to work in a perfect world, but what they understand is that not every viewer wants to share all of their personalized information and watching habits with the platform. And that is why they've built in controls to allow you to say to YouTube how much you want to share with them. If you limit your controls, it might mean that you get more of a vanilla viewing experience. But hey, at least it keeps you on the platform because you trust what YouTube is doing or not doing with your data. With the knowledge then that YouTube is always learning from its mistakes, this leads us on to important point number 2, and that is that YouTube never stands still. It is constantly evolving, especially its recommendation system, which means that videos that were successful for you in the past might not necessarily be as successful for you in the future. Now, according to YouTube, whether you believe this or not, they collect 80 billion data signals every single day. And I'm going to cover some of the ones that you are familiar with, but these, of course, are evolving over time as well. The simple act of clicking on a video is a strong indication that the viewer is going to find it satisfying. I mean, after all, you wouldn't click on a video if you didn't find the thumbnail and the title intriguing. However, YouTube discovered, and this was over a decade ago, that if clicks were not further validated in some way, it would just lead to clickbaity titles and thumbnails. So how do you go about validating whether or not somebody clicking on a video was satisfied by its actual contents? Watch time. Now again, from a broad perspective, watch time is a fairly obvious signal to use. The more somebody watches a piece of content, the more they're satisfied by it, and it gives YouTube some very clear indicators from a personalized viewer point of view. So when YouTube switched their metrics from clicks to watch time in terms of a recommendation system, it worked, but at the same time, views dropped immediately by 20%. YouTube's response to this was that we believed that it was more important for us to deliver more value to viewers. Now, all of this makes logical sense, doesn't it? Higher click-through rate combined with longer watch time would mean that the viewer is fairly satisfied by the content. And within the YouTube studio, YouTube even hints that these are the main signals they are after. However, this is where it gets a lot more complicated. 5 years ago, YouTube started to assess watch time, and they decided that not all watch time should be created equal. But how do you do that? Well, YouTube said to themselves that they didn't want viewers to regret watching the content that they were being sucked into. And from a creator's point of view, this is similar to the question of which is more important, raw watch time or average view duration. Well, this is what one of YouTube's VPs said in that Creator Insider video.
In general, people tend to be more satisfied when they've watched more of the video.
Did you hear the wording there? More of a video, not more video in total. But of course, it's not quite as simple as that.
There are instances where people are quite satisfied, for instance, with entertainment videos that they've only watched a small portion of. It really depends on which of the two videos the viewer is most likely to find satisfying, which basically means which one are they most likely to give more stars to when we ask them later in a survey.
Yeah, viewer surveys. Let's talk about them a little bit. Survey responses. First question, have you seen one and have you ever filled it out? Let us know in the comments below. I see them maybe once a month, haven't seen one for ages, needed to nick this one off the internet. And I have never in my life completed a viewer survey from YouTube. More on that later. On this subject, YouTube say that to really make sure viewers are satisfied with the content they are watching, we measure what we call valued watch time. Now, if you do fill out one of these surveys, YouTube will ask you why you rated it the way you did. And if you rate it 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, then YouTube considers that valued watch time. So folks, the next time you see a user survey on a video from one of your favorite creators, you will be doing them a huge favor if you actually filled it out. But here's where things get, and I must admit, a little algorithmic. Of course, not everyone fills out surveys on every video they watched. So based on the responses we do get, we've trained a machine learning model to predict potential survey responses for everyone. So what I assume that to mean is that if I don't fill out the survey, YouTube does it on my behalf. Freaky. There are other engagement signals that are used on a lot more frequent basis. Shares, likes, and dislikes. And this will categorically answer the question as to whether they matter. And the answer is yes. On average, obviously, people are more likely to be satisfied by content that they like and share. But here's where it gets a little freaky again. Not all shares and likes are treated equal. So if you like every single video that you watch, or there is a troll that systematically targets a certain channel with dislikes, then that engagement is not going to be weighted that heavily on a video's performance. I myself very rarely like and share video content. I only do it when it really moves and inspires me. So I assume all of this to mean that my like or share is valued more highly by YouTube recommendation system than, say, 100 of you who've automatically liked this video within the first 3 seconds of watching it. We appreciate it, but does it really matter to the recommendation system? It is clear that YouTube is not just collecting data signals from videos. It's also collating a lot of data from each personalized viewer. And what do all of these personalized viewers add up to? An audience. So what does that mean for small channels?
The challenge, of course, is that with small channels, we have less information about who the audience is for that channel. And so it's harder to find the viewers who are interested in those videos.
And so now you know why all of us YouTube educators preach channel focus. However, absolutely nothing we've talked about over the last 10 minutes means anything if we don't consider point number 3. The YouTube recommendation system has a gatekeeper that we must all follow as creators.
After responsibility, the most important thing for the recommendation system is satisfaction.
YouTube have made decisions and evolved that decision making over the last 15 years to determine what type of content should be on the platform. This is called responsibility, and YouTube's recommendation system actually places this higher than viewer satisfaction. Now, it's obvious to say that porn isn't allowed on YouTube, but what about all of these borderline topics that YouTube constantly brushes up against? For example, YouTube says that someone may report that they are very satisfied by videos that claim the earth is flat, but that doesn't mean we, as in YouTube, want to recommend this type of low quality content. In that particular case, YouTube has decided to class the value of the topic as low quality because they determine that as a conspiracy theory or misinformation. Of course, you as an individual have the right to your own opinions and values on such a topic, but YouTube have made their decision, and you as a user must decide to abide by that or find another video platform. And whether or not you agree with those decisions, you have to be fair to YouTube in the sense that they are being open and transparent, as far as we can tell. When it comes to such content, YouTube typically talks about 2 distinct buckets: authoritative content or borderline content. And they have been introducing classifiers for over a decade now to analyze content that may not be appropriate for the platform. And when it finds borderline content, which it doesn't necessarily remove from YouTube, it's not going to help that content either, and it will actively demote it rather than promote it. I think YouTube are actually very proud of what they've been able to achieve here, as they state that watch time is up significantly from authoritative news sources, whereas content that is deemed borderline is recommended significantly under 1% of the time. So what we have here is a platform overview of the YouTube algorithm, which you need to start calling the YouTube recommendation system. But if you want to know how the recommendation system works at an individual video level, then check out the video over here. This is my personal recommendation system, suggesting you do that. Bye.